This is ITV News at 10 with Mark Austin in Chester and Natasha Kaplinsky in the studio.
Good evening. We're just under 33 hours until the polls open. We are in Chester, a barometer of British politics, which the Conservatives need to hang on to if they're to be the biggest party. It is near the top of Labour's targets too. Both main party leaders have been racing around the country trying to secure last-minute votes, with a warning from the Lib Dem leader Nick Clegg ringing in their ears. He says there will have to be another election before Christmas if his party is not part of the next government. First tonight, James Mates, who spent a long day on the campaign trail with the Prime Minister.
This is ITV News at 10 with Mark Austin in Chester and Natasha Kaplinsky in the studio.
Good evening. We're just under 33 hours until the polls open. We are in Chester, a barometer of British politics, which the Conservatives need to hang on to if they're to be the biggest party. It is near the top of Labour's targets too. Both main party leaders have been racing around the country trying to secure last-minute votes, with a warning from the Lib Dem leader Nick Clegg ringing in their ears. He says there will have to be another election before Christmas if his party is not part of the next government. First tonight, James Mates, who spent a long day on the campaign trail with the Prime Minister.
Undoubtedly noticed how hard David Cameron has been warning of a Labour government reliant on SNP support. And that's because in marginal seats like Chester here, the Conservatives believe it's sending voters their way.
No, we don't want the SNP. I don't want Nicola Sturgeon. I couldn't stick her, no.
So that worries you, the prospect of...
Yes, I think she's dangerous, don't you?
Voters might have grown used to coalition after 5 years of the Conservatives tethered to the Lib Dems, but the uncertainty of this week's result has left this business owner worried.
The difference this time is it doesn't look like a coalition of partners. It looks like it's going to be a coalition of adversaries, and there's going to be factionalism where those who can get what they want out of the coalition will have too much power compared with the number of people they represent.
Thoughts of a second election? A big, deep, collective groan?
No, just get it done with and finish.
In marginal seats like Chester, votes will count more than they usually do, but voting twice in 1 year, that might be the inevitability of the result on Friday. Chris, ITV News, Chester.
Well, the Labour leader, Ed Miliband, wouldn't say whether he could legitimately try to form a government if he did not have the largest number of seats. He said he was focusing on winning a majority on Thursday. Our political correspondent, Carl Dinnan, followed Mr Miliband from Bedford to Derbyshire. The latest ITV News Daily Mail opinion poll from Comres suggests the Conservatives have a 3% lead over Labour. The Liberal Democrats are on 9% and UKIP are on 14%. And if we turn those percentages into seats, the Conservatives would have 284, still not enough for a majority. Labour would be the second biggest party on 272, and the SNP would take 55 of the 59 seats north of the border. And our Deputy Political Editor Chris Shipp is with me now. So these polls desperately close, but it's constituencies like this one that can really matter.
Yeah, Chester and elsewhere, more important than usual in this election. I think there was a couple of interesting points from that poll there. Firstly is that a fifth of voters say they'll be voting tactically. In other words, voting for the party they don't want to win. It'd be interesting to see what effect that has in places like Scotland. The other is that seat projection you just mentioned from Professor Colin Ralling. So the Conservatives on 284, Labour 272. It's a reminder, it's not the party that finished as the largest party in the House of Commons, it's the party that can get enough votes, block of votes, to get their programme of legislation through. You look at that, is Labour plus SNP gets you past the halfway mark. If you add in the Greens and Plaid Cymru, you're into the 330s. So the Tories finishing largest on this projection, but an Ed Miliband government is most likely. Let's think about what happens then on Friday. David Cameron stays as Prime Minister. There will be talks on both sides. They will continue simultaneously. Interestingly, Nicola Sturgeon is in London on Friday. She's there for VE Day celebrations. Her office told me today, actually, she's not there for the negotiations, but actually looking at those numbers, it's probably a pretty good idea that she is.
All right, Chris, thank you very much indeed. Well, what else has been Happening today, well, UKIP has suspended one of its parliamentary candidates with less than 2 days to the election because of what he said about his Conservative rival, whose family are of Sri Lankan origin. Robert Blay was recorded threatening to put a bullet between his eyes, according to a video obtained by the Daily Mirror. Here's the clip that contains the distressing language. Colleagues at ITV News Meridian have turned up in their archive. 24 years ago, they reported a rent strike at Oxford University led by a student by the name of Ted Miliband.
People wouldn't get angry if it wasn't unaffordable, and it clearly is an unaffordable rise.
When Ed Miliband was shown that by Meridian's political correspondent Phil Hornby, this was his reaction.
How did you possibly find that? It's in the archives.
It's in the archives, but interestingly, Ted Miliband. Is that what your name was?
I was a Ted.
I know you're Ed.
I was a Ted, but it feels like a long time ago, and that's because it probably was a long time ago.
Wonder what else we'll find in the archive. That's tonight's ITV News at 10, with one more day of campaigning left. In a few moments, the national weather and the news where you are, but from Natasha in the studio and from all of us here in Chester, good night, and thank you for watching.